This sounds like a simple question, but I actually have a fairly complicated answer because I love Tesla and I put an order in on one and I'm hoping to take delivery of it in the next couple months, which is really, really exciting. So you would assume, because I'm such a Tesla fanboy and I love talking about EVs in general, you think I would recommend all my friends and family, you should all buy Teslas, everybody should be buying a Tesla for their next car. But actually, because I understand where Tesla is as a company, the answer is fairly dependent on a lot of, examples of where someone is in their life combined with what are they expecting out of a vehicle. And as we're in this transitionary phase with EVs, there's actually a ton of differences between what car you buy on the market, not just in the EV space, but whether you go with used or with gas or electric. And all of these answers, depending on the person, are going to change, especially for me, because I may have a bit of a hot take for you today. Most of the people in my life, I don't think I would recommend buy a Tesla. I know that sounds sacrilegious, and how dare I say such a terrible thing, but in reality, I think that the reason I'm so pumped about the company and the reason I would like to buy one and I'm very excited to get one is because it caters to so many of the things that I care about in a vehicle. But I fully admit, in my social circle at least, I am not the most common denominator and I am not most people. For example, I think when most people out there are thinking about buying a car, they're gonna think about something that is reasonably priced, that is safe and reliable, and they want to buy it from a brand they can trust. And while I do personally think Tesla can do a lot of those things, I'm not sure they're necessarily the best fit for everyone, because I think if people are wondering if buying a Tesla is worth it or is this the type of investment they should be making, there should be some context to where the company is in their history right now. Keep in mind, Tesla's goal from the beginning was never to become the best car company or have the best quality control or be the best at customer service. No, all of their mission statements stem back to that original point of accelerating the transition to sustainable energy. And I think there needs to be a real emphasis on that accelerate word, because right now Tesla is screaming with their manufacturing lines and they're trying to ramp them up as quickly as possible, and that appears for the most part to take all priority. So if someone is torn between should I wait for the Cybertruck or should I just bite the bullet on my F-150 Lightning reservation and that kind of thing, for someone who just wants to get an electric pickup truck and none of these crossovers or sedans are gonna cut it, I'm gonna have to lean on Ford's side, especially for a lot of people out there in my family and in my friend groups that are comfortable and used to vehicles being a certain way. They're used to dials, they're used to buttons, they're used to having AM and FM radio, and they're used to having the speedometer behind the steering wheel. And even though I'm personally okay with Tesla's minimalistic approach of combining all of this data and information and putting it on a display, I'm fine with that because I think it looks cool and modern. I understand that there's a ton of people out there that would rather not have that, and I can't even really at this point say that Tesla is undercutting the competition. Right now, if you look at what Tesla is charging for their vehicles versus how much like an Ioniq 5 or an EV6 or a VW ID4 would cost, a lot of the time you'll probably find another EV that's cheaper than a Tesla. So this argument that used to be applied that Tesla makes, the cheapest EVs or the longest range EVs kinda is starting to show its cracks. It's partly true, but now you've got some of the Lucid Airs coming out that are beating out Tesla. I know those are so much more expensive, but you can't necessarily say Tesla has the longest range EV on the market anymore. And if your argument is, well, it's for the price you're getting, it's the best range. Well, now we're seeing vehicles like the Ioniq 5 start below $50,000 and still go over 300 miles on a charge, and Electrify America is getting more and more reliable. So don't get me wrong, I still think supercharging is the best network, and I think Tesla makes some of the most efficient EVs on the market, and I'm a big fan of their software emphasis. But the main reason Tesla has that emphasis on putting everything on the display and having less options in the interior and less buttons and less dials and just kind of streamlining everything, and honestly sometimes, especially compared to complex features that you see in the Rivian R1T or the intricate interiors of an F-150 Lightning or all of the dials and buttons and options you have in an ID4 or a Mach-E, Tesla skips all of those so that they can build vehicles faster. It's to have a more efficient manufacturing technique, and they're at the same time hoping, well, we know a certain demographic of the market is going to be fine and in fact prefer a minimalistic and simple interior. That's me they're talking about. But what needs to trump all design preferences both inside and out is how fast can we build these things. And because Tesla has such a big emphasis on that acceleration part of their mission statement, that's why there's still a lot of quality control problems. And I still hear countless issues with communication communication going on at Tesla service appointments, and people saying, oh, your car is ready for delivery, and then you show up and, oh, actually, it's not ready yet. This just happened with Chris from Dirty Tesla today. He was hoping to get his Model X. He showed up and, the truck's not here in time, so I guess you gotta come back tomorrow. And I haven't even gotten my car yet, and I've had poor communication with Tesla service agents where I just ask them a few questions about Tesla Solar, and then the next day, some guy is texting me on my phone saying, hey, can we get your Model Y reservation complete? And I'm like, I wasn't even ordering a Model Y. I was just asking questions about solar, which, by the way, they told me because of the way my house is built, they won't put solar panels on my roof. But the next person to text me was not aware that we came to that conclusion. So there's all kinds of service wait times and supercharger wait times depending on where you are. Quality control issues that are still very present, especially across the Tesla subreddits, where people are noticing issues on day one deliveries, and Tesla is not necessarily just going to shut down all their assembly lines or fire all their current customer support and rehire new ones, because despite all of these problems and issues, and despite all of these price hikes they're applying, people are still buying the car. It's basically an auction situation where you have huge numbers of people that are like, hey, I'm willing to pay that much for the car, can I get it sooner? I'm willing to pay that much, can I get it sooner? And because there's so much demand for these vehicles, Tesla can get away with kind of deprioritizing things that most car buyers out there would think are a major issue, right? If you're buying a car from Ford or Honda or Hyundai, you would be assuming, hey, there's big quality control problems, or they're not being very clear in customer service and their communication is all dated. You would think you have a lot of authority and you would be prioritized, right? Because you're used to car makers kind of being well-known and established, and you're like, hey, they're not treating me very well, or they're not doing something right, so I'm gonna complain about it. Hopefully less people buy the car brand, and then that car brand wants to fix the problem. Tesla so far hasn't really needed to slam the brakes on production, because despite all of these problems with communication, service, and quality control, there's still tons of people buying the cars and putting up with these issues. So if one of my friends or family members checks out my car and says, hey, do you think I should get one of these? I'm gonna try to preface and say, keep in mind what this company is in the middle of right now. They're trying to grow faster than any other car company has ever grown, and they're going to let some little details slide. They're gonna let some quality control issues come out of the factory, and they may make you wait for months and months on service appointments or replacement parts. Or if you end up getting in a car crash and totaling your vehicle, there's a good chance that the insurance money you get won't cover the price of the new one, because a new one has gone up in price so much over the past few months, and the wait times on a new one may be very, very long. So yes, depending on the person, I would recommend a Tesla if they would understand this is going to be a fairly large upfront cost. I don't care how many different ways you're doing the math on electric vehicles versus gas vehicles. At a certain point, we might just have to admit buying a Tesla is not like the cheapest possible thing you could do. Even with rising gas prices, if you compare it to just like a fuel efficient used gas car from 10 years ago, no, it won't be as fun, no, it won't be as quick, and no, it won't be as safe, but there might be cheaper ways to get a car out there. But also keep in mind the company might not treat you very well. They're not known for their #1 customer service in the automotive market, but I'm not really sure who is these days. You may have issues on your day one delivery vehicle. There may be little problems that kind of annoy you, and Tesla doesn't seem to be in a rush to fix. And also, I'd keep in mind that if you're in the market for a car and you need one now, a Tesla also might not be a great option, especially if you're used to spending $20,000 or less on your car, which there's actually a decent number of people that do that. And even if you put in your order right now, it's very likely to be a 6th, 7th month wait. I even see people in my comments all the time that have been waiting on their Model Y orders for over 6 months. They've passed their estimated delivery window, and Tesla keeps pushing it back further and further. So before I recommend Teslas to everyday people, I have to let them know of all of the risks and all of the uncertainties there may be with a vehicle like this. And if you are sold on the technology, if you are a big fan of autopilot and the car doing more and more stuff autonomously, and I would also highly recommend it to people who are comfortable with a lot of change, because I think it's fairly safe to say Teslas are not ordinary vehicles. They don't drive like normal cars, but you also don't interact with them like you do with everyday vehicles, you know? They hold themselves when you don't press the accelerator, and there's a lot of regenerative braking, and the glove box doesn't have a handle on it, and you can't control the rear heated seats from the back. You have to ask the person in the front to touch the display. That may tick off some people, and that kind of change is not always welcome, especially when certain people grew up with cars a very specific way, and they've been driving them that way for decades, and Teslas do bring a lot of change along. So I'm not trying to make the argument that all people should buy Teslas Teslas, and Tesla should be the only car company. And I feel comfortable saying that because I just feel like there's too many bulls out there that are convinced there can really only be one survivor, and Tesla will be the only car company in the future. I don't personally buy into that. I do think that there will be certain demographics that lean towards other EVs or other brands that cater to their preferences in terms of interior choice, or they just want it to be from a brand that they know and trust, and they want to have that good quality control they're accustomed to, or that good customer support that they've experienced in the past. That's why I think for a ton of people out there, the F-150 Lightning may very well be the better truck buy over the Cybertruck, because we don't really know when that's going to come out, especially when every year the Cybertruck gets delayed. It's because, well, there's a big backlog for other vehicles right now that we need to prioritize that require fewer cells. So, you know, Tesla didn't want to start Cybertruck production this year because there's too much demand already for the Model Y, so they want to focus on that. But do we really think this huge demand backlog that's already selling out base Model Ys until next year, is that all going to be resolved in 12 months? Will Giga Texas come online and suddenly all of the demand for the Model Y will be matched and they can start Cybertruck production? I sure hope so, but I'm not going to act like it's a certainty. And that's why, you know, I understand a lot of the skepticism when Tesla unveils vehicles and doesn't deliver them for 2-3 years, and they let these delays keep going further and further back. I understand why some people may compromise and just say, you know what, Cybertruck would be cool, but I have no clue when it's coming out, so I gotta get something now. I don't want to keep driving my gas car, and I'm okay with people not buying Teslas because honestly, I think the demand is way too high for a single brand, and it would be better for the EV community as a whole if we kind of spread out demand across legacy automakers, other EV startups, and Tesla. That way, the true fanboys like me that are all in favor of the super clean, minimalistic interior, the fanboys who are into the steering yoke and all of the interactions being on the display, we can get our cars sooner, and we can pay reasonable prices for our cars, and people who don't like Tesla and would rather have a more stylized interior or more buttons on the inside, they can get their other cars from Legacy Auto or from other startups, and everyone can just get what they want in a reasonable amount of time. But as long as there's too many customers out there not willing to compromise with a non-Tesla, and there's too many people that are like, nope, I want the supercharging, I need a Tesla, that's what's causing these price hikes to get so much worse, and that's what's causing the demand backlog and the wait times to be so insanely long. So if you understand where Tesla is as a company and you're comfortable with those risks, and you can accept that you may not get the best quality control or customer service, but you're just all in on software and you're willing to change the way you use your vehicle, yes, I do recommend Teslas to those people. If you disagree with any of those previous points and you're like, no, I want something a bit more either quick to deliver or something cheaper or something with more traditionally designed interiors, then yeah, I think there's a lot of great options outside of Tesla. Thank you to everyone supporting the channel over on Patreon, by the way. It seriously does help out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So take care all and have a great day.